The party was meant to be joyful, but the air inside the house felt heavy from the start. Loud music filled the room, flashing lights moved across the walls, and people laughed as if nothing in the world could touch them. It was a birthday celebration in a large rented home, the kind of place people chose to feel important for one night. Everyone dressed to impress, hoping to be noticed, hoping to belong. Maya arrived quietly. She did not come to stand out. She came because her close friend Lena asked her again and again. Maya promised herself she would stay for a short time, smile, and then leave. She wore a simple blue dress and flat shoes, nothing loud or flashy. Her hair was neatly tied back, and her face showed calm even though her heart felt uneasy. She stood near a small table at the edge of the room, holding a drink she barely touched. She watched people talk, laugh, and dance. Some faces were kind. Some were curious. Some looked at her longer than needed. Maya was used to that feeling. She learned long ago how to stay calm, how to stay quiet, and how to stay strong without showing it. Across the room, a man named Grant stood with a group of people around him. He spoke loudly, telling stories about his job, making sure everyone knew who he was. He enjoyed attention. He enjoyed control. Every laugh from the group fed his confidence. His voice cut through the music like he owned the room. When Grant noticed Maya, his smile slowly changed. He stared at her as if she did not belong there. He excused himself from his group and walked toward her with heavy steps, his confidence growing with every step closer. "Who are you here with?" he asked, his voice sharp and loud. Maya looked up, surprised by his tone. "I'm here with a friend," she replied calmly. Grant laughed, shaking his head. "This isn't the kind of place for just anyone," he said, making sure people nearby could hear him. A few heads turned. The laughter in the room softened. Some people felt uncomfortable but chose silence. Maya felt her chest tighten, but she did not lower her eyes. "I was invited," she said simply. Grant stepped closer, standing too near. "I deal with people all day," he said. "I know when something feels off." The words hurt, even though he did not raise his voice. They carried judgment. They carried power. Maya felt heat rise in her face, but she stood still. Leaving now would feel like losing, and she did nothing wrong. "I'm just here to celebrate," she said, her voice steady. Grant smirked. "You don't look like you belong here." The room felt frozen. Some people shifted their weight. Some pretended not to hear. No one spoke up. Maya felt a sharp pain in her chest, not from fear, but from humiliation. Still, she stayed silent. She had learned that sometimes silence was safer. Lena tried to step in, but Grant raised a hand to stop her. "Stay out of this," he said firmly. Maya's hands trembled slightly, but she held them together. Her mind raced. She thought about leaving. She thought about her father. She thought about how he always told her to stand tall, even when the world tried to make her feel small. Before she could speak again, the front door opened. The music stopped as if someone pulled a switch. Conversations died mid-sentence. The room turned quiet in seconds. A tall man in a dark suit stepped inside. His movements were calm, controlled, and confident. He did not rush. He did not look around in confusion. He walked as if he knew exactly where he was and why he came. Two aides followed behind him, quiet and alert. People whispered. Some recognized him immediately. Others felt the weight of his presence without knowing his name. Grant turned to look at the door, still wearing a half-smile, until recognition hit him. His body stiffened. His face lost its color. The man's eyes moved across the room until they landed on Maya. His expression softened instantly. He walked toward her, ignoring everyone else. Maya's breath caught in her throat. "Dad," she said quietly. The man placed a gentle hand on her shoulder, grounding her. "Are you okay?" he asked softly. Maya nodded, though her eyes burned. She did not speak. She did not need to. The man turned slowly toward Grant. His voice was calm, but every word carried weight. Is there a problem here? Grant swallowed hard. I was just making sure everything was in order, he said, forcing a weak smile. The man looked at him carefully. You were speaking to my daughter. The room felt smaller. People held their breath. That's my daughter, the man said clearly. Whispers filled the room. Shock spread from face to face. Grant's legs trembled. His confidence vanished in seconds. He stepped back without realizing it. I didn't know, Grant said quickly. I meant no disrespect. The man's eyes remained steady. Disrespect doesn't depend on who someone's family is, he replied. Maya felt something shift inside her. For the first time that night, she felt safe. The man took his hand off her shoulder and addressed the room. Everyone deserves dignity, he said calmly. No matter where they come from. Silence followed. Heavy. Honest. Grant stood frozen, unable to speak. The power he thought he had slipped away completely. Maya looked around the room. Some people looked ashamed. Some looked relieved. Some looked inspired. She realized something important in that moment. She had not changed. The room had. The truth had. And this was only the beginning. The silence inside the house felt heavier than the music ever did. No one moved. No one laughed. The bright lights now felt harsh, exposing every uneasy face in the room. Maya stood beside her father, feeling the warmth of his presence steady her breathing. Her heart still beat fast, but the fear she felt earlier had slowly turned into something else. It felt like relief mixed with quiet strength. Grant stood a few steps away, his posture stiff. His hands, once confident, now hung awkwardly at his sides. He avoided looking directly at Maya or her father. The authority he tried to show earlier had drained from him, leaving only discomfort behind. Maya's father looked around the room once more before speaking again. His voice was calm, not loud, but everyone listened. This was meant to be a celebration, he said. But somewhere along the way, respect was forgotten. People shifted uncomfortably. Some nodded slowly. Others stared at the floor. Lena stood close to Maya now, her face pale with emotion. She wanted to apologize, but words felt small in that moment. Grant cleared his throat. Sir, I truly didn't know, he said again. If I had. Maya's father raised a hand gently, stopping him. That's the problem, he said. You shouldn't need to know who someone is related to before treating them fairly. The words landed quietly but deeply. They were not angry. They were honest. Maya watched Grant carefully. She did not feel joy seeing him uncomfortable. What she felt was clarity. She finally understood that the way he treated her said more about him than about her. Someone near the back of the room spoke up softly. She didn't do anything wrong. Another voice followed. He went too far. The room slowly came alive again, but not with music. With truth. Grant's face tightened. He realized the room was no longer on his side. He took a step back, his voice lower now. I apologize, he said, looking at Maya briefly before looking away again. Maya nodded once. She did not smile. She did not speak. She didn't need to. Her silence was strong. Her father turned to her. Do you want to leave? He asked gently. Maya looked around the room. She saw faces that once judged her now filled with regret. She thought about how she wanted to run earlier. How small she felt. Then she lifted her chin. No, she said quietly. I want to stay a little longer. Her father smiled faintly. Then we'll stay. The music slowly returned, but it was softer now. Conversations resumed, though the energy had changed. People spoke more carefully. More honestly. Grant moved toward the door, avoiding attention. He paused for a moment, then left without another word. No one stopped him. Lena hugged Maya tightly. I'm so sorry, she whispered. Maya returned the hug. "It's okay," she said. And for the first time, she truly meant it. As the night went on, people approached Maya differently. Not with pity, not with fear, but with respect. Some apologized quietly. Some simply smiled and nodded. Maya accepted each moment calmly. She did not need validation. She already had her dignity. Her father stood nearby, speaking with a few guests who recognized him. He kept his eyes on Maya, checking on her without hovering. He trusted her strength. Later, when the party slowed down, Maya stepped outside onto the balcony. The cool night air felt refreshing. The city lights glowed in the distance. She leaned against the railing, finally allowing herself to breathe deeply. Her father joined her. "You handled that well," he said. Maya looked at him. "I didn't feel strong at first," she admitted. "Strength doesn't always feel loud," he replied. "Sometimes it's quiet." Maya nodded. She thought about all the times she stayed silent to avoid trouble. Tonight was different. She did not shrink. She stood still and let the truth speak. Inside the house, whispers continued. Grant's name came up again and again, not with praise, but with concern. Some guests talked about what they saw. Others questioned things they once ignored. Outside, Maya felt something change inside her. She realized this moment would stay with her forever. Not because of the pain, but because of the lesson. The night eventually ended. People left quietly, carrying the weight of what they witnessed. The house returned to silence, but it was not empty. It was thoughtful. As Maya and her father walked toward their car, she looked back once. She did not feel anger. She did not feel shame. She felt free. But far away, Grant sat alone in his car, replaying the night in his mind. He knew this moment would follow him. The way he spoke. The way he judged. The way everything changed in seconds. The night was over. The consequences were just beginning. The next morning arrived quietly, but the impact of the night before had not faded. Sunlight filled Maya's room, yet her mind stayed busy. She lay awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment from the party. The looks. The silence. The way the room changed when her father spoke. She did not feel weak anymore, but she did feel thoughtful. Something inside her had shifted. Downstairs, her father sat at the kitchen table, reading messages on his phone. His face remained calm, but his eyes showed focus. News of the party had spread faster than either of them expected. People talked. People shared stories. People asked questions. Maya joined him quietly and poured herself a glass of water. "Is everything okay?" she asked. He nodded. "Yes," he said. "But there are conversations happening." Maya understood what that meant. The night was not just about one moment. It opened a door. She sat across from him, her posture straight. She was no longer afraid of what came next. Later that day, Maya went to work as usual. She refused to hide or stay home. She wore simple clothes, walked with steady steps, and greeted people politely. Some co-workers looked at her differently. Some smiled with new respect. Others avoided eye contact. Maya stayed calm. She focused on her tasks and kept moving forward. Meanwhile, Grant's day looked very different. He arrived at his workplace early, but his confidence was gone. People whispered when he passed. Conversations stopped when he entered rooms. He felt eyes on him everywhere. For the first time, he felt judged without knowing how to respond. He sat alone, staring at his desk, his mind racing. He thought about his words at the party. He remembered Maya's calm face. He remembered the room turning against him. The truth was uncomfortable. He could not ignore it anymore. By midday, Grant was called into a private meeting. He walked in with stiff steps, trying to stay composed. He answered questions carefully. He spoke about the party. He explained his actions. His voice lacked the confidence it once had. Outside that room, life moved on. But inside, Grant faced something new. Reflection. Across the city, Maya met her friend Lena for lunch. They sat at a small cafe, sunlight pouring through the window. Lena looked nervous. "I keep thinking about that night," she said. "I should have spoken sooner." Maya reached across the table. "You're speaking now," she said gently. "That matters." Lena smiled softly. "You were brave." Maya shook her head. "I was just honest." That honesty stayed with her. It followed her throughout the day. She noticed how people listened more when she spoke. Not because of her family, but because of her presence. That evening, Maya attended a small community meeting with her father. She usually stayed quiet during these events, but tonight felt different. When a discussion started about fairness and respect, her father looked at her and nodded. Maya stood up slowly. Her heart beat fast, but her voice stayed steady. She shared her experience without anger, without blame. She spoke about how words can hurt even when no one raises their voice. The room listened. People nodded. Some looked emotional. Some looked thoughtful. Maya felt proud, not because she spoke, but because she stayed true to herself. News of her words spread quietly. Not in loud headlines. In conversations. In reflections. In small changes. Grant heard about that meeting too. Sitting alone that night, he watched a short clip someone shared. He listened to Maya speak calmly about respect and dignity. He felt something heavy settle in his chest. Not fear. Awareness. For the first time, he admitted something to himself. He had power. And he used it carelessly. Days passed. Maya continued her routine. She smiled more. She slept better. She no longer carried the weight she once did. She understood that standing firm did not always mean fighting. Sometimes it meant refusing to break. Grant, on the other hand, found himself quieter. He spoke less. He listened more. The mirror felt harder to face, but he did not look away anymore. One evening, Maya received a message from an unknown number. It was short, simple, an apology. She did not reply. She did not need to. Healing did not always require answers. The city moved forward. People talked less about the party and more about what it represented. A moment. A lesson. A shift. Maya stood at her window one night, watching the city lights again. She felt stronger than before. Not because someone protected her, but because she found her own voice. And in that quiet strength, she prepared herself for what was still to come. Time moved forward, steady and quiet, but the changes it carried were real. Weeks passed after the night that changed everything. The city returned to its normal rhythm, yet something beneath the surface felt different. People spoke a little more carefully, listened a little longer, thought a little deeper. Maya felt the change inside herself most of all. She no longer walked with hesitation. Her steps were calm and sure. She understood now that dignity was not something others could give or take. It was something she already had. At work, Maya was offered a new responsibility. It was small, but meaningful. Her supervisor trusted her judgment and valued her voice. Maya accepted without fear. She handled the work with focus and patience, surprising even herself with how confident she felt. Her relationship with her father grew stronger too. They talked more openly now. Not just about serious matters, but about life, hopes, and small joys. One evening, they sat together on the porch, watching the sky turn orange. "I used to think protecting you meant standing in front of you," her father said. "Now I see you can stand on your own." Maya smiled. "I learned that from you." Across town, Grant's life had slowed down. He no longer walked with pride or spoke loudly. He spent time thinking, listening, observing. He began to notice things he once ignored. How his words landed. How silence could speak. How power should be handled with care. One afternoon, Grant attended a training session focused on communication and respect. He sat quietly in the back. He did not argue. He did not defend himself. He listened. The faces around him were different now. Some were cautious. Some were hopeful. Grant knew trust could not be demanded. It had to be earned. That night, Grant wrote something he never thought he would. A letter. Not to excuse himself. Not to explain. But to reflect. He did not send it. He kept it as a reminder. Growth began there. Meanwhile, Maya was invited to speak at a small youth event. She hesitated at first, then agreed. Standing in front of the group, she shared her story again. This time, she focused on self-worth and quiet courage. She spoke simply, honestly. The room listened. Afterward, a young woman approached her with tears in her eyes. "Thank you," she said. "I needed to hear that." Maya realized then how far she had come. Her pain had turned into purpose. The city slowly embraced that lesson. Conversations changed. People questioned behavior they once accepted. Not everything changed overnight, but progress rarely did. One evening, Maya crossed paths with Grant at a public event. Their eyes met briefly. Grant nodded respectfully. Maya returned the nod. There was no anger, no triumph, just understanding. They both walked away changed in different ways. As months passed, the memory of the party became less about humiliation and more about growth. It became a turning point, a reminder that dignity matters, that silence can be broken without shouting, that truth has power. Maya continued to live her life fully. She laughed more. She trusted herself. She stood tall, not because of her father's position, but because of her own strength. Her father watched her with pride, not as a protector, but as a supporter. He knew she was ready for whatever came next. And Grant continued his quiet journey. He learned that respect was not authority. It was responsibility. The city moved on, carrying the lesson forward in small ways. In conversations. In choices. In moments of pause before judgment. Maya stood once more at her window, watching the city lights shine. She smiled softly, knowing she no longer needed approval to belong. She already did.